Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, tire siping, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. I hope you guys are having a great holiday season, and we got a great show for you today. Nick Harrison of 100.3 FM ESPN here in New Orleans. Jim Derry of NOLA.com are our guest today. We'll cover Saints, LSU, Tulane Pelicans. Got a great show. Stick around for the full hour. Guys, welcome back to the show. Both you gentlemen, glad to have you here, and Merry Christmas to both of you. Hope you guys are having a good holiday season. Hope you guys have finished all your shopping.
Right. Not yet.
Well, I want to welcome you both back. Nick, welcome back. And before we get started, as we always do, I like to let folks again know a little bit about what you're involved in. Tell us everything you're involved in, my friend. Since your first appearance here, I got to know you a lot better. Your TikTok videos are incredible. Again, of course, fantastic show on ESPN. Tell us all about it.
Well, Eric, thank you for having me back on. I truly appreciate it. ESPN 100.3 New Orleans is where my show is. Wanna Bet with the Professor Nick Harrison, live from Boomtown Casino and Hotel over on the West Bank. Come by and see us. We'd love to have you. But also work with Gus Cattengill on the Sports Hangover every day, Monday, 12 to 3 p.m. Such a great time talking about the Saints, Pelicans, LSU, Tulane, New Orleans sports, and all that it contains. And we appreciate you guys for listening and checking us out. And again, thank you for having me again.
You know I'm not letting you get out of here without talking about the TikTok videos and everything else you're involved in. Come on, man. This dude's got 1.7 million followers.
So, Mr. Professor 318 on all social media outlets, 1.7 million on TikTok, as he said, a bunch on Instagram and Facebook as well. Anybody who's already following, I appreciate you guys. It's a lot of music, a lot of nostalgia, just having fun, some sports. So you guys make sure you check it out again, Mr. Professor 318 on all social media. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in. Jim, welcome back. Good to have you back on the show. Tell us about your show. It's again, I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know, but again, both these guys have fantastic handicapping shows. Again, if you're putting a little wager down, you might want to be able to check these guys out to be able to get and find out what's going on. Tell us about yours.
Well, I mean, Nick thinks he's so bad. I mean, I got 1.7 followers. Look at that on TikTok. I mean, he's got 1.7 million. I got 1.7. That 0.7 is my wife, and she's thinking about dropping me. So that's where I'm at right now. No, I'm a sports betting writer for bet.nola.com. I began my own show about 2 years ago, a podcast called Datitude. We're actually about to have episode number 200 next week, right before the new year. So it's amazing that they let me go through and do that many episodes, but that's where we are. Host a show called Bayou Bets on bet.nola.com, all of our social media platforms on Mondays at 4 o'clock and Thursdays at 4 o'clock. and having fun with it. I mean, when you get to write about who you like this weekend for a living, and you know, you do a little covering the Saints on the side, and you know, my podcast is probably 70% Saints and about 30% betting. So we have a little fun with it, and you know, it's interesting because I found out during this season that more people want to hear me when the Saints lose than when the Saints win. So I guess I know how to complain. I guess I know how to complain better than most people.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Well, I do have to ask you guys. It's incredible how things have changed so quickly with now the legalization of sports betting in our country, and of course, again, media outlets taking advantage of that. Again, the marriage between the leagues and also sports betting parlors, whether it be casinos, etc. You know, websites. It's a crazy phenomenon right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And first of all, it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
At first thing, it's supposed to be fun. A lot of people end up starting betting and they get a little too involved in it, and there are numbers, there are groups that you can be a part of, there's stuff online that you can go to if you have a problem with betting. You got to remember to keep it fun, and that's why a lot of people love it. You know, you have your websites, your apps that people use for their betting, for their fantasy sports, and all of that, and it's supposed to be an enjoyable thing, and that's why people really get into it, because it makes you more interested in games that you really wouldn't watch. True. Who would care about a Panthers game unless they're betting on it? Like, seriously, they're 100%. Terrible. So that's what it's supposed to be about. That's what we're here for, is to have fun, and that's what the betting thing is about, and that's why people have really dove into it, and they enjoy it a lot, and that's why I love it. I know that's why you love it.
Yeah, I started a betting column about 10 years ago. They kind of just let me, long before we had bet.nola.com, you know, they started doing it, and I have fun with it. I mean, you know, I bring in my Aunt Mabel comes in, and Drunk Joe at the bar, and you know, you just want to stay away from the sides that they're on. And so, but that's the whole thing. It's about what Nick said. It's about having fun with it, and when people realize that, look, I learned a long time ago. You can get way too far into this thing. I learned my lesson, you know, 25, 30 years ago. And it changed the way that I think. And I mean, I know some people have to go through that to figure it out. But it's exactly what Nick said. If you can't have fun with it, you shouldn't be doing it, because it's all, you know, you're betting $10 here, $20 here, whatever you can afford to lose. But it's about fun more than I'm not taking this thing seriously. I'm not trying to be, you know, Joe Q Sharp in Vegas betting $1 million a year. And you know, some years you win $2 million, some years you lose $1 million. I'd have a heart attack if I lost. I mean, no matter how much money I have. So, but it is about fun, and I think that's what we try to do on both of our shows.
It's honestly, again, you look at it, you look again now, just the industry itself, how it's grown. It's been amazing, and of course the tie-in with the leagues now. I didn't think we'd ever see again, you know, legalized gambling tied in with sports leagues, but it's hand in hand now.
You know, it's no different than NILs in college. I think both of these, and to me, NCAA is also a league. I mean, they finally realized that, you know, with NILs, I mean, you have to, it was inevitable. So I'm glad to see that the major professional sports leagues are embracing it now, because I mean, they weren't getting revenue on the side. They might as well embrace it, because it's still happening whether you want it to or not.
Absolutely. You know? Definitely great. Guys, let's talk about the Saints. 24-6 winners over the Giants. They're 7-7 now. In a first place tie with Tampa, but they have the tiebreaker. Saints are also again in line for a possible wild card spot as they get ready to take on the Los Angeles Rams tonight. I do want to talk a bit about the Giants game, though. I thought it was the best game of the year in every phase, and it started up front with both the defensive line and offensive lines. And of course, Derek Carr probably had his best game of the season as well. They really look like an NFL team. I'm hesitant, okay? I just am, because again, they've been consistently inconsistent all season long. I'd love to jump on the bandwagon, but again, I don't know what we're going to see week to week. Their back's against the wall now with 3 games left. Again, we didn't have to win at least 2 of the next 3, probably 3 of the next 3 maybe, depending on what goes on. But your thoughts on that game? Is this a turnaround game for this, or just one of one?
Well, you use the term. It's the same one that we've been using all season, consistently inconsistent. That's what the Saints have been all season long. Now, we've been able to get down on the Saints when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we should praise the Saints when they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that's exactly what they did against the Giants. They did it in all three facets of the game. They won in the trenches. They did what they were supposed to do on special teams. The defense came out and showed out, but Derek Carr had his best game as a New Orleans Saint, and it's not even close. The touchdowns, the yardage, the passer rating, finding Jimmy Graham again in the red zone, Jawan Johnson, A.T. Perry doing what he's supposed to be, Rashid Shaheed, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. We appreciate you being here. Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams. The offense was cooking and doing what they needed to do. The defense on their side with Paulson Adebo, they were all, Alontae Taylor, they all played really well. They played well on the line as well. Got to give it up to Brian Brzee. Brian Brzee had an excellent game, did what he was supposed to do. And that, and that's what needed to happen for the New Orleans Saints, especially right now in the middle of a playoff push, in the middle of trying to get to the division. What they needed to do was really play their best game going forward, and especially going into tonight's game against the Rams. This is an incredibly important game for both teams, and the Saints really needed a game like this to get their confidence up going into that game, because this is what Alvin Kamara called an identity-building game. Because he was one of the loudest ones saying that, they don't have an identity. We don't know who we are as the New Orleans Saints. Well, now you're building that identity. You're building on a mystery as you are the New Orleans Saints, trying to make this playoff push and get to where you need to be. And they did an excellent job of doing that.
Your take.
We can just move on to Jane Daniels and LSU, because basically just said everything there is to say. Look, I couldn't agree with both of you more. To me, it was fun while you were watching it,
right.
But when it's over and you start thinking about it, Eric, it's frustrating, because this is the team that we thought we would see all year long.
Right.
There's no question that to me, this was the first game, and I mean the first game. You can even throw the 34-0 Patriots game in. This is the first game where offense, defense, and special teams all played well. Even in the 34-0 game, I didn't think the offense played very well. They got the pick six from Tyrann Mathieu and kind of rolled on after that, and the Patriots just quit.
Right.
This Giants team did not quit on Sunday, kept coming at him, and they kept pounding Tommy DeVito. Hey, yo, you're getting pounded into the turf.
Right.
And why can't you see this from this team? Dennis Allen, I loved it after the game. Everybody wants to hate on Dennis Allen, and for good reason.
Right.
But he was pounding the podium, man. He had attitude. You want to ask me about Derek Carr? Nobody wants to ask me about Derek Carr. Well, nobody wanted to talk about Derek Carr all year long. He finally played a good game. We're supposed to be excited about it. So I thought it was a completely different team. If this team can take this attitude on the road and Thursday and realize, hey, we can play this well.
Right.
All I can think about, though, Eric, is last year going into Tampa Bay. It was the same. It's the same situation right now. Yeah. They have everything in front of them. And what did they do when they went to Tampa Bay last year? Right. They wilted in front of the nation, and they got a chance to do it in front of the nation again tonight on national television in front of an audience probably bigger than that one, because people don't have anything else to do. They're off.
Yeah.
They're going to be watching Saints and Rams.
That's right.
And are they going to do it? We'll find out.
Carr was 23 of 28, 218 yards, first three touchdown game. I thought the offensive line played really well. Landon Young comes in for Ramczyk, and of course, this guy was an all-SEC performer at Kentucky. Hasn't done much here in New Orleans. He played a good game. They only gave up one sack, and I think it was a running back. It was Williams that gave that sack up.
I
think so. And then, of course, again, spreading that ball out to 10 different receivers. The defense outstanding. 7 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, 8 quarterback hits, and 5 pass defense. Second game in a row where they did not allow a touchdown, and held Barkley to 9 carries on 14 yards. Come on. Yeah. That's playing some good football.
Nick's got his Kentucky colors on.
Actually, I want to borrow that. I really like that.
Hey, come on, get it. Get it. Look, the offensive line played outstanding football. The defensive line did what they were supposed to do. They stopped the run. You saw DeVito the week prior went for 70 yards and really helped his team. They came in on a 3-game win streak. Giants have been doing their thing, and the Saints were able to really shut them down, the momentum that they had going on, and that was a testament to the work that they had done all week going into this game. Not wilting, not being down on themselves, coming back and really playing a strong game. And then on top of that, you talked about Derek Carr, 10 different receivers catching passes, 3 touchdown passes. You know this team is 5-0 when Derek Carr throws 2 touchdowns. If he stays upright, if he puts the ball in the end zone, if they score, the defense is going to give them the opportunity to win the game every single time. So if you can go out there and do what you need to do and be the quarterback that we thought you were going to be coming into the season, this Saints team could be scary going into playoffs, but you have to actually get there first, and tonight is the first step.
But Eric, they follow the script. Derek Carr's followed the script. When he's got a clean pocket,
right,
he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. When he doesn't have a clean pocket, he's one of the worst.
What does that say now? Because again, this offensive line played well this week, and look, there's been a lot of ghosts. He's seen a lot of ghosts this year, right?
Yep.
He was patient. He didn't hesitate on his throws. He looked like an NFL quarterback. Look, I've been saying this for a while now. The reason why you go out and get a 10-year vet and pay $150 million is so you don't have growing pains. You don't have to wait till week 15 to be able to figure out again the offense, right? Is this now a situation where the Saints are going to pivot and say, hey man, we got to build up this offensive line again, because if this guy's got a clean pocket, he could be a top quarterback. Or again, is this a situation where Derek Carr is going to be Derek Carr, the same guy we've seen in the last 10 years?
Look, I worry that there's something going on behind the scenes. You see Derek Carr, we talk about the emotional side of him that he showed in the Jacksonville game, and then it's all peace and calm, and I'm doing whatever, I'm doing yoga, brother. Let's keep it positive. I mean, come on, man. You got to, when you're a quarterback. You ever saw Drew Brees off of his even keel?
No.
And I'm not trying to compare Derek Carr to Drew Brees, because Drew Brees is gone. He's never coming back. We get that. But I mean, that just goes to show what an NFL. You think of all the good quarterbacks. You ever see Patrick Mahomes? Everybody made a big deal about him slamming his helmet down. You know what? That's the first time we ever saw that in 6 or 7 years of him being a veteran quarterback. Good quarterbacks don't do that kind of thing.
Well, you don't want to show them that emotion, right?
Exactly. And so you're not supposed. Of course, you're going to be. It's an emotional game, and you're going to get emotional. But you do that when there's not a camera on you. You talk to your players when there's not a camera on. You don't fight with your center on national television. I just, if he can rein it in, and if he can even play anywhere similar to the way he played on Sunday, the Saints have a chance to do something the rest of the year. I'm not buying it.
Right, guys. Again, there were several things that have happened over the last few weeks that are head scratchers, because they haven't happened all season long. The lane discipline, which they talked about this week. My gosh, your NFL players, it's week 15, you're just figuring out lane discipline? The use of Jimmy Graham, finally using Jimmy Graham. What about Zach Bond? Okay, you draft him, and it's the same scenario as Caden Ellis last year. You keep him on special teams for 3 years. He comes out, he gets an opportunity to play again, and with your defense, he excels. He's in the last year of his deal. He moves on to again a division rival. He's their leading tackler and one of their leaders. Zach Bond comes out of Wisconsin. He's a pass rusher. You try to put him at Sam linebacker. That doesn't work out. Now you figure out that you got this new NASCAR package with Passanio, Bond, Brzee, and Granderson, and they went berserk on the quarterback this week. And look, listen, y'all talked about it. When you look at the Giants quarterback, he was a mobile guy, and the Saints have problems with mobile quarterbacks all year long. Where has this been all year?
Look, I'm just going to say this. This is the best time for it to be happening.
Great point.
Right now,
that's a positive spin. I'll give you that.
Because if you look last year compared to this year, you wish you had that kind of fire going into the end of the season that you have right now. Because if you did, you might have won the division last year, because it was still up for grabs towards the end of the season if you're the Saints. You still had an opportunity to get to the playoffs towards the end of last season. This season, you're tied at the top. There's a tiebreaker going on there, but you still got Tampa Bay coming up towards the end of the season. You still got Atlanta coming up towards the end of the season. You have the Rams, you have Atlanta, you have Tampa Bay. This game is important tonight, but you need to win out. If you're the New Orleans Saints, leave no doubts. You will need to win out. You need to beat the Rams, you need to beat the Falcons, you need to beat the Buccaneers, go into the playoffs with a home playoff game. Did you hear how the Dome was rocking against the Giants when the Saints were doing what they needed to do? When they were cooking, it was Dome field advantage again. That's something that's been missing almost all season long for the New Orleans Saints. If I'm Dallas, barely squeaking into the playoffs at like 5, 6, or 7 seed, possibly going into New Orleans going to the Dome for a playoff game, I'm nervous. I'm scared, for real. Especially if they're playing the way that they played against the Giants. The Saints could be a dangerous team if they look like the team that we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season going into the playoffs. But you need to prove it in these next couple of games. Need to win out.
Jim?
We have our first disagreement.
Go ahead.
I think the Saints, look, I mean, it's more fun if the Saints win. Want them to go to the playoffs for sure. But I think the Saints played at Dallas. They got zero chance. And I mean, I think that's a butt whipping of epic proportions. They don't match up well with Dallas in any shape or form. I mean, I hear you. But look, that being said, everything that's going into this Los Angeles Rams game, here's what I go back to. Dennis Allen, as a head coach of this football team, when they've won 2 games in a row, they're 1-6 in their next game. They just don't win 3. They don't know how to win 3 in a row. And part of the reason is all the things that you talked about, Dennis Allen gets locked in on players. It doesn't matter. If you're his guy, and you ain't changing his mind. And I mean, look, how many times have we seen, and I keep going back to Derek Carr, but there have been so many times, there's been at least 3 times this season, when Derek Carr obviously was too injured to be in the game, doesn't want to put Jameis Winston. You can hate Jameis Winston all you want, but an upright, healthy Jameis Winston is way better than an injured Derek Carr, and this guy just doesn't want any kind of controversy. He's like a bad poker player that shoves all in because he doesn't want to have to make a decision after the flop. And that's who this guy is, and he's not going to change. So as far as hope goes, do I think that they have the talent to win their last 3 games? Absolutely they do. But I think there's no way this inconsistent team is going to win 5 games in a row to finish up this season. They're just not.
Let's see.
Let's be realistic.
This right here, true fandom. True Saints fandom right here.
Realistic.
He's like, I'm hesitant. I don't want to just go all in on the Saints right now. He's like, there's no way that they're into the season.
Nick, I'll be glad to come on your show 3 weeks from now and publicly tell the people, you and G-Cat, I'll tell you how wrong I was on the air. I'd be glad to say it, but I ain't wrong.
Well, look, I'll put it like this, man. If they play the way they played against the Giants, who's really going to beat them towards the end of the season? You got that much faith in Tampa. I know Tampa's playing pretty good right now. Baker's playing pretty good right now. You got that much faith in Tampa to say that they can beat the Saints team that was on the field against the Giants?
No, I think the Saints are way better than Tampa Bay.
What about Atlanta?
I think the Saints are way better than Atlanta. Well, they've lost to both of those teams already.
But this is a different team.
Why is it different from one game?
Is this the same team the team that you saw against the Giants? Let's wait until tonight. Look, let's wait until tonight with the Rams. If they play that well against the Rams as they played against the Giants, it's not the same team.
Your betting show, are you going to go and say take the Saints +4?
I am.
You are going to say Saints +4.
And you're going to say?
There's no way. I mean, there's no way. I mean, this is not a good spot for them. The last time the Saints won on the road against the Rams, 2009. That's when they beat everybody. I mean, so they haven't, and that was in St. Louis. I mean, they can't. This is not a good matchup for this team. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua. Go down the line. This is just not a good matchup. This offensive line isn't the same offensive line they're going to play last week. They're not going to be able to sack Matthew Stafford 7 times. I'm being realistic and telling you about the matchup. Now, I do think they match up well. I do think they can beat the Bucs. Actually should beat the Bucs and should beat the Falcons. But is 9-8 going to be good enough to get them in the playoffs? Because I do think they're going to go 9-8. I agree with you about the Bucs and Falcons. I just, on a short week after you've been home 3 weeks in a row, the emotional thing of, they're dancing in the locker room. I don't know, man. The Rams are positive too right now.
What's funny? You're saying is 9-8 good enough to get into the playoffs? Have you seen this division?
Pretty bad.
Do you really think that 9-8 can't win the NFC South?
The problem is they lose I'm not worried about the Falcons. Falcons aren't going to win the rest of that game. So it's really the Saints and the Bucs. And when it comes down to it, you better be rooting for them Jaguars this week because if the Bucs beat the Jaguars, Saints-Bucs game doesn't really mean a whole lot because the Bucs finish off with the Panthers. And if the Saints and Panthers Saints and Bucs both finish 9-8, it really doesn't matter much who wins the Saints-Bucs game. Bucs are going to the playoffs. The Saints might get that 7th spot in the wild card, but even then, they lose tiebreakers to everybody else in the NFC too.
Yeah.
That's why this Saints-Rams game is even more important because they're going up against the Rams. Might be for that 7th spot.
Gigantic game.
It's a huge game. Learn a lot about this team.
Final say here, guys. Saints-Rams tonight.
Saints.
I mean, I think I've said it. I mean, I've picked the Saints now. I think 6 weeks in a row. because of the situation, because I thought they were better than every team that they played this far. This is the first time where A, I don't think they're better than the Rams, and B, it's just a terrible spot for the Saints. If you're going to be home, if you're going to go on the road on Christmas week when your wife's probably nagging you, we haven't finished that Christmas shopping, and look, I got a game to worry about. I ain't worried about whether the kids are going to get PlayStation or not. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. I just don't like this spot. I think the Rams win, and I think they win easily.
Jim Derry, NOLA.com. Derry, right?
Derry. Yeah.
Derry. Jim Derry, NOLA.com. I say it all the time. Sure. Nick Harrison, I know that one. Of 100.3 FM. I'm Eric Asher. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. We'll be right back after these messages.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Acadian Custom Shutters is locally owned and operated, specializing in interior and exterior shutters and window coverings, as well as awnings and patio covers. Acadian Custom Shutters offers American products with personal service and workmanship, serving the South Shore, North Shore, and Mississippi Gulf Coast. More information is available at 985-893-3119 or AcadianCustomShutters.com.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Nick Harrison of 100.3 FM. Jim Derry of NOLA.com, right? Are we right there? We got that? We got it. Okay, let's do it. All right, let's go to LSU. Getting ready for Wisconsin in the Reliquous Bowl. I do want to... National Signing Day was when early signing period was Wednesday. The transfer portal obviously is going both ways for the Tigers right now. The SEC just got incredibly tough when you bring Oklahoma and Texas in, and then you again, if you look at the schedules across the board of the SEC for the most part, I mean, every single team has a murder's row schedule now. I mean, there's no getting out of it. Kelly's got some work to do here, especially losing Jaden Daniels, obviously Malik Neighbors. You know, you're losing a lot of guys to the pros, or their eligibility is up. They got to get the secondary fixed. They got some issues on defense. They got to figure out what they can do with the quarterback position now. So a lot on the line in this offseason for Brian Kelly. Talk about what you think has to happen this offseason for them to contend going into next season.
Well, it's like Bill Parcells used to say back in the day, you got to go buy the groceries.
Okay.
Whether it's through recruiting, whether it's through the transfer portal, you got to find the guys, the X's, the O's, the Jimmys, the Joes, that'll fill in those spots that you're missing. You're losing some guys to the draft, you're losing some guys to the transfer portal. That's what we're looking at college football as a whole right now. Think about this. I had a buddy who posted something on social media yesterday actually. He said, think about what if the free agent period, signing period, trades were going on right now in the NFL, or during the playoffs. Right. You could still go out and get free agents and go and make trades while all of this stuff is going on. That's what's going on in college football right now. We're in the middle of bowl season. We're in the middle of the national championship playoff. Next year it's going to be 12 teams. So it's going to be an even longer period of time. And you'll be getting kids in the transfer portal. You'll be losing kids in the transfer portal. All this stuff will be going on. And this is the kind of chaos that LSU and every team in the SEC is going to have to deal with, because people are going to be coming to get your guys, and your guys are going to be wanting to go somewhere else. There was a report that there were quarterbacks that were in the transfer portal that were coming to LSU to visit, or that were talking to some of the coaches. You know, if you're Garrett Nussmeier, how are you feeling right now?
That's one of the things. But again, today, in today's world, first of all, you better realize that there's always going to be somebody coming for your job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just like you have to worry about the recruits anymore. It could be anybody that's coming from somebody else's team. So we're living in a different world now between NIL, transfer portal, etc.
You got to think the same way if you're Brian Kelly. Somebody's coming for your job too.
Amen.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
It'll get hot if again they have another season with a defense like that. That's for sure, right?
Yeah, and it's sad that the seat would get hot. I mean, now he should have known that his defense was going to be as bad, at least the secondary was going to be as bad as it was. So that is on him. But I mean, you get a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. I mean, that doesn't happen every day. You know what that's going to do? You talk about transfer portal. Whoever the best quarterback is in that transfer portal, why wouldn't they want to come to LSU? Right. So I mean, if you look, nothing against Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's a fine quarterback, and I actually think maybe he's potentially an SEC capable starting quarterback at Mississippi State or somewhere like that. I mean, no offense, Kentucky. Right. You know, we were talking about Kentucky earlier. I mean, you know, those kinds of places, not at LSU.
Okay.
So, I mean, Brian Kelly's going to go out into the transfer portal, and whoever the best quarterback is, he's going to go after him, and if he can't get him, he's going to try to get the second best quarterback. But, you know, one thing you talked about, the SEC is getting tougher. All those people who hate the SEC and going in, man, you can hate the SEC all you want. I mean, the SEC ought to be broken off from the NCAA. You could just have a SEC tournament every year. And I mean, people would watch that probably over the, I mean, who would you rather watch? Would you rather watch Florida play LSU or Alabama play Oklahoma or Texas play Georgia? Would you rather watch that, or would you rather watch Michigan play Indiana or Penn State and Iowa? I mean, I know which one I'd rather.
Oh, man, I'm with you. I mean, you got Oklahoma and Texas coming over to the SEC this year. You've got Florida State in the ACC thinking about whether or not they should stay in the ACC. This is Florida State.
Right.
Questioning the ACC because they missed out on the playoff this year because they play in the ACC.
Oh, don't get me started,
but that's a whole other discussion for another day. But you look at where Alabama was, they beat Georgia, they win the SEC championship, and they're automatically vaulted into the playoffs.
That's a shame.
And they are now a favorite. What's the line
they're
on them?
1 point underdogs. But the fact that the fact that Alabama, who is clearly, this is a down year for Alabama. I mean, clearly. Right. I mean, you know, Jalen Milroe, no offense, but he's probably the worst quarterback they've had in 8 or 10 years. I mean, he's gotten better. 100%. I mean, no offense to Garrett Nussmeier, but yeah, I'm taking Jalen Milroe. I mean, look how he's improved from the beginning of the season to now. I mean, I know what he is. I don't know what Garrett Nussmeier is.
You're not wrong.
You know, so, but it just goes to show the SEC and what we're talking about here. Michigan is supposedly the Georgia-like team from the last 2 years, and Michigan is this dominating team. And what does Michigan do when they get in the playoffs? They lose to TCU and they choke. You know, so I mean, if you're going to bet on that game, you might as well take Alabama. But I mean, it's SEC against everybody else. I'm taking the SEC.
Guys, coaching change. Do you think that we'll see some changes on the coaching staff on defense? Some people want Corey Raymond back. You know, others want Matt House out. Do you think there'll be some changes?
I think so. I think there needs to be. There's going to have to be. Right. Even if you just want to make an example, you're going to have to do something. So I see that coming fairly soon.
Jim?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, look. They didn't have the horses. You know, you talk about the X's and O's, Billy Joes. I mean, they didn't have the horses, so you can't fully blame House for that. But you had to know going into the season what you got to figure a way. You can't give up 500 yards in an SEC game. You just can't. No. You can't have your quarterback putting together a performance where he's got a 700-yard game and you still got to worry at the end of the ball game. That should be blowout city. And they had. I mean, you ought to be able to beat the Ole Misses of the world. I'm sorry. I mean, that's an inexcusable loss. You know, the way they played Alabama, Jaden Daniels doesn't get hurt. Who knows what?
Right.
But, I mean, they should have beat Florida State. They should have beat Ole Miss. Yeah. You know, they deserved to lose to Alabama, but they should have been in the playoff conversation in the end, and they weren't because their secondary was awful, and somebody's got to pay for it.
Yeah. We shall see. Let's go to Tulane. They are kind of in in a kind of transition now. Again, heading to the Military Bowl to take on Virginia Tech. There was the controversy of the coaches that were still on campus recruiting their players to go to Houston. Michael Pratt is not playing in the Military Bowl. He's going pro. He's going to prepare for the Senior Bowl and the draft. John Summerall has been named the new head coach over at Tulane. Jim, I'll take you first on this one. Jim, first of all, your thoughts on Summerall and his hiring.
Fantastic hire. I mean, you look at what he did at Troy over the course. Now, Troy's always a decent, non-Power 5 school. They are, but I mean, I think they took it to a different level this year, and he's proven that. I mean, he's the kind of coach you want, young, energetic, kind of coach that Tulane needs to bring this thing forward and keep going with it. But he's going to need to dive into that transfer portal right away, because let me tell you something, Tulane, the outlook this year, this coming year in 2024, I don't think they can sustain what they were able to do the last 2 years without going and diving in the transfer portal, because their recruiting process has not been as good. That could be partially because Willie Fritz knew he was leaving. Right. I mean, he probably knew before the year started, I'm leaving after this year, no matter what. It kind of showed really throughout the whole season. And now you're talking about his assistants trying to poach kids on his own team. I mean, somebody needs to look at it. I mean, we're getting ridiculous. This is why, to me, college football is nowhere near as good as the NFL, and I don't enjoy it as much, because you're talking about the infighting, in poaching. I mean, that just doesn't happen in the national football.
Well, Jim, I kind of put that on. I kind of put that on the athletic director and on the athletic department. You got to know now that we're in a different world. Okay, you can't retain coaches that are going to go 100%. Elsewhere to be able to coach in a bowl game. And Nick mentioned again, it's the Wild Wild West right now. Yeah. Okay, so you got to protect as much as you can. You got to protect your players.
100%. That's why. Look, John Summerall wasn't coaching Troy in the bowl game. Why wouldn't you just bring him on now? Right. I mean, and let him decide and that way he can at least monitor what's going on. He's in there. I'm like, you either going to do what we want to do right now, or you're just going to be gone now. Right. Yeah. I mean, and look, I get that you're going to you might end up with a 3 or 4 person staff, but it is what it is. Right. But I don't know. I just never understood why when you lost your coach and you're bringing a coach in and he's not going to coach anymore over there, why can't you just bring him in right now? I never understood that.
I don't know why the rules dictate that kind of thing. Look, Summerall is a slam dunk hire. I agree with for Tulane. He could have gone to Kentucky. Yep. Could have gone to Duke. Right. Yep. Ended up with Tulane. Tulane, it's a gift that Summerall is there now. Now, the portal is something he's going to have to dive into, like you said. But I think that one of the big points that he could use in recruiting is that now, with the expansion of the playoff, if Tulane does the same thing they've been doing for the past couple of seasons and wins like he did at Troy, that's right, then they're going to be playing for a national championship.
I didn't think there's any question of that.
What coach in Tulane's history can come to their kid's house and say, hey, do you want to play for a national championship? When has that ever happened in the history of Tulane Athletics?
I mean, Bowden left after he went 12-0, so 13-0, whatever it was.
Every coach that they've had that has had success has left.
At least in our lifetime.
Right. Right.
And what you're going to have to deal with Summerall is that's going to happen with him, too.
There's no question about it.
I mean,
he's a rental.
He is. I hate to say it. But that's where they are. Their last best chance to be able to buck that trend would have been Willie Fritz staying until he retired, put the statue up in front of Yeoman, and we're singing Kumbaya. Once he moved on to Houston, you're right back in that scenario of, we're going to get a young coach, or that coach is going to do well. He's going to get poached. He's going to end up with a Power 5 team, end up in the SEC, the Big Ten, etc. So that's where we are again.
Willie Fritz fooled me. I mean, he really did. Like when he stayed last year, I'm like, you know what? Maybe he does want to stay here. Maybe he realizes, what Nick's saying. It's a selling point. If you come here to Tulane, all we have to do is win the AAC, and we got a chance to be in this top 12 thing going on here. And so I thought he fooled me. I really thought he was going to stay for a while, but I guess that's what happens in college. But I absolutely believe John Summerall is a 2, 3, maybe 4 year if you're lucky.
And if he's not, then that means you're not having success.
100%.
Now, it reminds me of Louisiana Tech. Like years ago, back when I was up in North Louisiana with Sonny Dykes, with Dooley, it became a launch pad job. You're successful for a couple of years, then you go on to one of the Power 5 conferences,
Right.
you go on to one of the big schools or bigger schools that you can actually compete for a national championship. Now at Tulane, you can compete for a national championship right now if you win the conference.
That's what this playoff does.
That's what's going to happen. So you have that selling point now, which is something that Tulane hasn't ever had. So, that's something that Summerall will be able to use in recruiting, which I think is a great tool.
But guys, they got to make the commitment. And in our lifetime, they have not made that commitment. They left the SEC in the 60s. The commitment to the facilities, the commitment to try to be able to again be one to get to a Power 5 conference. It's why I think Willie Fritz left, and I think he pretty much said that when he was in Houston. There were promises made, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So this time around, whether it be the indoor practice facility, whether it be an ops building, whatever you have to do, it's an arms race. You have to be able to compete with the Power 5s, or again, for those players that maybe feel like the Power 5 wasn't for them, and they want a second shot. And a lot of Louisiana kids have done that, and that was the recipe for success for Willie Fritz. Will they make that commitment?
I think that they want to. Whether they can get enough people to back them to do it is another question. But I'll go back to what Summerall needs to do right when he gets here is jump in. And what was Willie Fritz more successful than any recent coach at doing? Keeping kids from Southeast Louisiana. And if LSU doesn't want you, then come here.
Right.
I mean, and I think that's what Willie Fritz was good at. I mean, you look at a lot of the players that were on this roster and kids that are even in the NFL, a lot of them from Southeast Louisiana, because you could talk about Texas, Florida per capita, and I've covered high school football for a lot of time in my career.
Right.
Not getting better than Southeast Louisiana, in my opinion. I mean, just look at some of these state championship games we had just a couple weeks ago, and the semifinals the week before that. And I still, I get to broadcast high school football. That's what John Summerall needs to do when he comes in here, and any successful coach at Tulane needs to realize. Don't forget about the transfer portal, but your job, you're going to be more successful if you keep these kids in Southeast Louisiana. They don't want to go to LSU, they don't want to go to Alabama, and if they don't want to go to Texas, then there's no reason why they wouldn't want to go to Tulane.
And you get the second bite of the apple when they decide again they don't want to stay at the school, the big Power 5 school, and come home.
Right.
Will they make the commitment, you think?
They should make the commitment, but if I'm Tulane, why am I making the commitment if my people don't even want to come to the game?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just being honest.
You can't fill Yeoman.
If you can't fill Yeoman, why am I going to make a commitment to this program? You have a team that's played for a conference championship, a New Year's Six Bowl, 2 years of success at Tulane. Great success. And what are you doing? Staying at home.
100%.
Watching. Now, it doesn't help that they're on ESPN every week, but they were on ESPN every week because they were successful and they're a good team. You've got to go out and support your team. You got to go out to Yeoman and watch those games. And to your point about the recruiting in Southeast Louisiana and recruiting the state, he said in his introductory press conference, I want to keep the kids home. I want to play for a national championship. Those were two big points that he made when he was introduced, as the new coach of Tulane. You were there at the Dome for the state championships.
Yep.
I was at the Dome for the state championships. There is a ton of talent right here in the state. If he keeps them home, if he recruits, if he does what he needs to do, Tulane should be successful again this year because we already know what he can do because we saw him do it at Troy.
Eric, you know what this reminds me of with Tulane right now? Remember back in the early to mid-'90s when Tim Floyd was with UNO and UNO was turning a corner and they were getting ranked and they were becoming this power, and people went for a little bit, were going to games, and they couldn't keep them. They couldn't keep them coming to games. I mean, I kind of think that's what Tulane's at a crossroads. UNO couldn't get to that next level. Tim Floyd left, and everything kind of fell apart.
Yes.
They had good coaches after Tim Floyd, but they couldn't find a way to get people to keep going to Lakefront Arena. That's kind of where Tulane is right now. If you can't fill 30,000 seats at Yeoman Stadium, you got no business being as one of the best 12 teams in the country.
That's a great point. Guys, I want to give the audience a little bit of help here with, again, the college football playoffs, the Sugar, Washington, Texas. Who do you guys like?
I like Texas.
Yeah, I think Texas is the best team in the country. I really do. I think from top to bottom, I think they're going to win the national championship. So I got. But I will say this though. Michael Penix has got a little attitude, and so does Washington. When you're 13-0 and you're not getting respect, I actually think that's going to be a really good game. I think that's going to be a much better game than the other one. Right. And I'm looking forward to it because I think the winner of that game wins the national championship.
That's in the Sugar Bowl, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, the Rose Bowl is Michigan and Alabama.
Give me Michigan, actually.
You know, Michigan's a better team, but I can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't pick Jim Harbaugh. I just can't. They're cheaters and losers. I mean, I can't do it. I can't bet against Nick Saban. I just can't do it. I don't particularly like Nick Saban, but you got to respect what he's doing. I think Michigan in the real world should be like a 6-7 point favorite over this Alabama team. But if you're telling me you're giving Nick Saban 3 weeks to prepare, I'm not betting against them. Taking Alabama.
Yeah, I understand. But the allure of this playoff right now is the rematch. The potential for the rematch in the Natty between Texas and Alabama. And we're looking at a good possibility of that happening.
LSU, Wisconsin.
LSU, big. Even with us.
I hope they care enough, Eric. I hope they care enough. I'll take LSU too, but I'm not running into the window to go put any big money on it. I will say that.
Quest Bowl, no.
I just, I know Wisconsin doesn't have any kind of dynamic offense or anything, so they're not going to be able to pass against LSU, which is why handicapping analysis says to still take LSU and give the 8. But again, I just don't know that they care enough.
Tulane, Virginia Tech.
You know what? I got, with all the stuff that's going on at Tulane, logic says to take Virginia Tech, and I know most people are, but that spread doesn't make any sense to me. I think Tulane's going to compete. I think they're going to fight.
The
spread is 6.
Okay.
At least the last one I saw was Virginia Tech by 6. Yeah. And look, you bring Michael Pratt I just don't. There's so many things going on. I'm going to take Tulane only because I think they're going to keep it competitive. I think they are going to fight. I think that the players want to fight. I think it's going to be a decent game.
I'll take Tulane as well. I like their backup quarterback, the guy that was behind.
Well, he's in the transfer portal.
Right, but he's going to play.
He's going to play.
Okay. He's going to play. Yeah.
Don't.
They're at least trying to keep him at Tulane, no doubt. All right. Final one. Saints Rams tonight.
Saints.
Same thing I said before. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Nick's right. I hope I can say I was wrong. I love when I get to say when I'm wrong when I pick against the Saints. I think the Rams win this one big. I actually think it's a high-scoring, entertaining game, somewhere along the lines of 30-21, but I think the Rams win.
Let's talk Pelicans. Again, wins of 4 or 5. Just
brutal.
Just a spectacular game last night, though, even though it was a hard loss for them, 115 to 113. John Moran is one of one. I mean, you just saw it last night. Again, out for 25 games and 8 games last year. Guy was started off a little slow and then just took over. There was nobody on the court that could handle him. Nobody on the court that could handle him last night. But with that said, Pels have played really good basketball.
Yeah,
they really have been playing good basketball. I mean, stubbed their toe against the Grizzlies. But give me your thoughts on what you've seen within the last 10 or so games.
I've seen Brandon Ingram really come on and take over and be a leader on this team, not just offensively, defensively. I mean, just be a guy that can really be at the forefront for this team. I've seen Zion play well. I think he can play better, and he knows he can play better. He said that he can play better. He can do more. I love what JV is doing. I love what the bench is doing. Even though John Morant did what he did last night in his game back, Herb Jones played well against him. He had 27 points, and it was pretty much all in the second half. He just came on in the second half and took over because that's the kind of player that he is. But the Pels led by 24 at some point during that game. They're a really good team. They're in the 7th spot in the West right now. They have the opportunity to move up. They have just as many wins as the Clippers, as the Kings. They've got a schedule coming up where they got to start with Cleveland. They should be in Cleveland already. They got to start with Cleveland. They got a schedule where they can really start to show people what kind of team they are. But I think they're in a good place right now, and I think they can only improve and get better.
At Cleveland tonight, Rockets on Saturday. On the 26th day after Christmas, they got the Grizzlies again, and then Utah on the 28th. Last 10 games, your thoughts on Pels?
I love Willie, but man, how you not put 2 people on John Moran?
But if you're Dyson, Why aren't you coming
over immediately? He came over way too late.
He was late.
He was way too late. So, look, this Pelicans team is like Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, they're not quite the Saints because they actually show in multiple games that they can be one of the best teams in the NBA. But they also showed last night they were Jekyll and Hyde. They would have, first half, they would have one of the best teams in the NBA, period. And I'm not just talking about like best team in the division or whatever. I'm talking about one of the best teams in the NBA when they played like they played in the first half. But you could just feel that thing slipping away. And, you know, Zion gets frustrated. And I don't like his body language and the way he's playing. He needs to. I'm not sure. I mean, you know, you talk about B.I. being a leader. He's like this quiet leader. They need somebody that's going to just take Zion and shake him, man. Get out of your funk. You could be one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah. Herb Jones is their leader.
I mean,
and he's not he is vocal, but he's not the kind of, he's not, I guess, the demonstrative.
Yeah. Right. And neither is CJ, really.
No.
So, I mean, I think that's what this team is missing. If they can go out and get someone like that, some veteran that can come in here and be kind of, because JV isn't either.
Right.
I mean, and so I just think they just need someone. They need this loud voice in this team. Maybe someone like maybe not Chris Paul per se, but someone like that.
They've needed that for years.
If they can get that, I think this team can take the next step and be this kind of team that comes in as a 5 seed and you don't want to play the New Orleans Pelicans.
Well, you make a good point because, again, when you look at the best players on this team, they're not the guys that are loud. They're not
even Willie Green.
Right.
I love Willie Green. I think he's the perfect
well, you always
coach
take the
for this
personality of your coach, right? In a lot of cases.
Exactly.
So, I will say this: I love the way Valanciunas is playing right now.
Yeah, he's playing great.
I mean, look, I don't, and I talk about this on the radio show. I don't know if if it's because of the World Games, and he's in such great shape. But I was out here politicking for an athletic big, okay? Because I felt like, again, the way the NBA is going, you need an athletic big. And Valanciunas in the last year of his deal, he has played nimble, he's played athletic, he's a double-double guy every night, he's giving you scoring. Again, in the game against Memphis, I mean, in the first quarter, he kept them in it.
Yeah.
You know, so he's playing really good basketball. B.I., again, when he turns it on, that mid-range shot, he is unstoppable. Okay, and then again, when Zion is focused, again, and I'll give him credit. Look, I've been on him for not playing in back-to-backs, for, again, hangnails keeping him out. He was sick against Memphis, and he came out and played. So, again, hopefully that's a step in maturity for him as well. They seem to have the pieces, but they got it much like the team across the parking lot. They got to be more consistent.
Got to be. You have to be, especially in the Western Conference, especially in this division. Everything is so close, so you have to be consistent. And they were on that track, winning 4 in a row, being a really good Minnesota team. But then you go up against the Memphis Grizzlies. What happened with Ja happened with Ja, and now you got to move on. And you're playing a good Cleveland Cavaliers team tonight. You got to win that game.
Yeah, and they're injured. Okay. No. I thought Ja really. I thought he lifted the entire team.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes you get on an emotional roll like that, and you just lift the team. But this is one they have to have tonight.
You know, Nick, what the biggest difference is between the Saints and the Pelicans is?
What's that?
Because there are teams that I think the Saints have zero chance to beat. There isn't a single team in the NBA that I think when the Pelicans are playing well, like they played the first half last night, and they should have. They played Denver. They've already beaten Denver. I mean, and with Jokic and Murray, and I just think that when this team is playing as well as they can play, there isn't a single team in the NBA that I don't think the New Orleans Pelicans can beat. I don't feel that way about the Saints.
Agree. 100% agree. They're about as good as any team in the NBA.
When we get closer to the trading deadline, is there outside of maybe a vocal leader, is there something this team needs?
Marketing.
Okay, well, I'm talking on the floor.
Marketing.
Still marketing. Okay.
Go get him.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, he is the perfect piece that they could possibly put with the team. Go get him.
All right. So they're asking a lot. Utah's asking a lot for him.
I know.
Make the move?
Yeah. I mean, because I think what is it?
See, they're hesitant to break this team up right now. That's the thing. They don't want to give up any of these assets on this team.
I understand, but to me, and it was the same way around this time last season. If it's not B.I., not Zion, and not, for me, CJ,
right?
Just about everybody's fair game. And maybe Herb.
Right.
everybody's fair game.
Okay, including.
I hate to lose Trey Murphy. I hate to lose Trey Murphy.
I'd hate to lose him,
but if you, I'm gonna go back to what I said. I think if they get one, there's maybe missing one piece.
Okay.
This team can win a championship. And I'm talking about right now.
Right. Yeah.
I think they got the coach. I think they got the players. I think they got the belief. I think they got the heart. I think they got every piece they need necessary. Because let me tell you something. If they get one more piece and they go on like a 7-game winning streak, what do players like Zion need? What is the thing that can focus him more than anything? Winning.
Right.
Yep.
He's not going to want to sit out a game because his toe hurts if they're winning 6 games in a row.
Yeah.
That ain't going to happen.
Sure.
I mean, so you could. That's what solves every problem is winning, and I think they're one piece away from having a realistic chance of being as good as anybody else in the NBA.
I agree.
I know who he wants. Who would you like to see?
You know, I don't think there's one particular player that I want to see.
Is there a position?
You know, I don't think there's any particular position this team really needs. I mean, they can shoot, they can handle the basketball, they can play well inside. There's no one particular player. I'm telling you, it's that vocal leader. I don't know who it is, but that's what they need to get more than anything. But I'm with Nick. I don't care whatever it is. Sell it now. I would hate to lose Trey Murphy. And what a valuable piece to this puzzle. But they got shooters. They can shoot. Do whatever you got to do to win the NBA championship because your windows don't stay open very long, especially in a town like New Orleans. We've seen that already.
Guys, before we get out of here, I want you to go and hype your shows once again for me. You didn't talk about the prep show you're involved in as well, so I want to get all that out there so folks can follow you guys on social media and they can check out your shows and maybe win a little money down the line. Talk about it.
Oh man, if you want to win a little money, check out Want to Bet with the Professor Nick Harrison live on ESPN New Orleans. 6 to 8 Wednesday nights live from Boomtown Casino and Hotel. We'd love to have you over. We talk about every sport. We even talk about hockey, man. Come on, where you gonna get that at in New Orleans? Just come on, listen to Want to Bet on ESPN 100.3. Also, Mr. Professor 318 on all social media outlets. Go ahead and check that out. And the Sports Hangover with Gus Catgill live Monday through Friday, 12 to 3 p.m. right here on ESPN Radio New Orleans.
We will not be talking about hockey on the Data 2.
Oh, come on.
Okay. I like the NHL as much as any other Southern Louisianian. But I'm probably not going to talk about the NHL.
You mean playoffs only, right? The Stanley Cup.
Datitude podcast every Monday morning, every Friday morning right now. And when football's over, we'll probably switch back to just every Friday morning. I also do the Bayou Bet Show for bet.nola.com on Monday afternoons and Thursday afternoons. I'm a sports betting writer for bet.nola.com, focusing mainly on the NFL. That's what I do mostly. And then I also do play-by-play for Varsity Sports Now. I have done that. Work with Eric Ritchie for this is my 5th year with Eric, and we do all sports. Do football, basketball, baseball, a little volleyball here and there, and I love doing play-by-play. Eric, if I could make a living doing play-by-play high school sports, I'd quit my job tomorrow. I don't want them to hear that, but you just can't do it. Not right now.
Well,
Don't share the link with your employer.
Exactly. Don't tell anybody.
Hey, had to throw a shout out to one of my mentors, Eric Ritchie, who's just a great guy and has done a great job with Varsity Sports. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us today on the Inside New Orleans
Merry Christmas,
Sports.
Eric.
Merry Christmas, both you guys. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. So many ways to catch our program now. There's a QR code on your screen that'll take you right to the WLAE-TV YouTube channel and also my website, ericasher.com. So, Dan, remember what I say each and every week. Pick your favorite time slot, set your DVR, you'll never miss the program. Also, again, you catch me on the radio, 106.1 FM. That's weekdays 4 to 6. You can listen live at ericasher.com. Also, again, iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app, our digital platforms. Anchor Spotify is where you can find our podcast, and of course on all podcasting platforms. Also, I want to thank our underwriters who make our show possible. Each and every one of those underwriters, again, making sure this program is continuing. Please support our underwriters. Also, again, the WLAE production staff that includes Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Logan Graffia, also Alex Chacon, and our director, William Hill. For Jim Derry, for Nick Harrison, I'm Eric Asher. Merry Christmas. Hope you guys are enjoying your holiday season. Thank you for watching Inside New Orleans Sports. Next week, we'll have another great show for you. Thanks for watching.